Folks, I have a super beginner-friendly quilt project for all of us today. It's called Blue Willow and it's amazing. Are you ready? Let's get stitching. Hey folks, that's right. Welcome back. My name is Rob Appell right here at So Well from Stitchin Heaven. What do you think of the great new t-shirts, right? You can get one of yours too. Team Rob Appell, the Carefree Quilter. And even though that's a bit of a mouthful, this is the perfect project for all of you carefree and or beginning quilters because it's going to be super simple. And yes, today I'm working out of a quilting kit, but it'd be very easy for you to work out of your stash as well. And I've gotten some of the fabrics already out. Let me just point out real quick. Yeah, this is called Blue Willow, designed by us at Stitchin Heaven. The quilt is going to be 76 by 95, and I'll teach you how to make both the blocks or the units and this really cool checkerboard sashing. I absolutely love it. So even though it's very beginner friendly, you're going to learn this really cool trick. So I just want to point out real quick, we're not using all of our fabrics today. I'm going to leave my outside border fabrics and my binding fabrics safely in the plastic. It's because one of you will win this quilt kit. That's right. Stick around till the end of the video. I'll tell you how to win this quilt kit. Of course, I just assumed you were subscribed. So if you're not, subscribe right now. I really appreciate that. And we have a lot of fun reutilizing these quilt kits. So yeah, I'll make one block and you get to make the rest. I'll tell you how to win at the end of the video. And I'm also, like I said, trying to keep the quilt kit somewhat intact for all of you. Something else I want to point out. I'm a little caffeinated today. I dove right in and I got a little nervous when I looked at the instructions. These are included in the kit. And I saw this 16 inches as 16 finished blocks. But folks, it's 12 blocks and we have for you 12 different incredible blue fabrics ranging in tones that all worked really great together. So I want to point out you're making 12 blocks that are going to finish at the 16 inches square. So I got really tripped up and couldn't find my other fabric. So you're going to have 12 different fabrics in the kit, and then you're going to have a 13th blue fabric here, which will be used for those wonderful stripes, the strip piecing we're going to do. That'll be the second part of today's video. So I'm going to clean up, teach you how to make the square, the block units for the middle, and then we'll dive in at the second half and make that awesome border with the checkerboard cornerstone. So let me get tidied up and I'll be right back. Well, now that looks a little bit more tidy, doesn't it? Okay, so we're gonna follow the instructions. Like I said, we're gonna do just the first block as we go. And I only cut one of somebody's, your blue assortment fabric. So I have an 8.5 inch square here. I now have two, these are 4 7/8. You could go up to 5 if you really want to. We're going to make a couple half square triangles pretty quick. So I also have 2 of the white background. And then I have 4 rectangles that are the 4 7/8. Don't cheat on that one by 8.5. Those are going to fill in those sashing units right here. Let's not call them sashing because there's another portion of the pattern that calls them sashing. These are going to be just the rectangles that complete the block. We'll say it that way. So basically what we're going to now do is we're going to stack up these fabrics here, make sure that they're good corner to corner. And I'm going to take all 4 of these blocks because I'm just handling one unit today, but you'll do all of these in bulk. Let's grab a ruler. And now we're just going to go ahead and cut from corner to corner to prepare these for half square triangles. Like that there. And then just go ahead and with right sides together, pair those up. And we're going to sew along that diagonal with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've put a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the edge guide on the bed of my machine. One, for the fact that I love it. It always works nice. But also because I'm starting this project for somebody else. So that way I know that their 1/4 inch can be matched up to mine simply by laying one of my pieces under their 1/4 inch to make sure it's the same. If you're a chain piecer, of course, this is a great time for that, meaning take all of your like units and sew them together like the other ones were. Something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like. Valley girl. Hey, we're doing valley sewing today. Like, for sure, man. This is like the best sewing ever. I can't believe I just did that on camera. I'm so sorry. It's the hairdo, folks. It's the hairdo. I was dressed for success earlier today in my gold shirt. I'll just say that much. Hopefully all of you are enjoying Bonnie Hunter's projects. Maybe I've said too much already. Okay, so now we have 4 of these half square triangle units. I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to press them all over to the dark side, the dark fabric, by holding the dark fabric up in the air and then just letting this push over ever so nicely. Let that sit on there. Oh, I realize right now I don't have my wool mat. I was pressing big border fabrics earlier and I set it aside. I forget how much I missed that thing. Oh boy. Wool pressing mats are great. If you don't have one, you should get one. I'm already realizing how nice it is to have that feature when I can set that down on top. Okay, so now at this moment, we could trim these down if necessary. What we're going to do is we're going to follow this diagram here, and we're going to basically build it so that we have 2 of our... oh, I just made a mistake. But fortunately, it's to all of our advantage. And again, I said I was just trying to go too fast and reading too fast. Folks, I cut these strips at 4 7/8, but these strips for the outside should have been 4 1/2 because your half square triangles are going to finish and or be trimmed down to 4 1/2. So that's okay, no problem. I'm just going to grab these sashings and trim them down to 4 1/2 as they should be. But if you've didn't read your instructions, I guess that's my bad and yours, because the instructions called for that, and the first part of every instruction says to read all the instructions, but it's got going a little too fast. No problem. We're going to anchor that up, 4 1/2, super easy. Problem solved in quilting. Let's keep moving forward. You can see I was just deer in the headlights there. I was like, what the heck has happened? So back to our diagram here. We're going to make sure, and if it's easier to bring in your big square now, you're going to make sure that these colored fabrics, your print fabrics, are going to point with their tip like this back in, right? So this will be here and here. Maybe you'll see it that these lines are running parallel. Just make sure you don't have anything going like this. Okay, so let's make 2 of these units now at 4 1/2 inches wide. So I've rotated this just to confirm. Now I'm again just going to rotate that, make sure it doesn't go crazy. Everything's still as it should be. And I'm also taking the time to sew on both sides before I press, because one side is not affecting the other in its actual sewing construction. This also gives me the opportunity to press into the darker of the fabrics, keeping the white as clean and neutral as possible in its appearance. Okay, so let's go ahead and make 1 more of these. Oh, and would you look at that? The wool mat fairy swung by while I was at the sewing machine and dropped off the wool mat. Amazing. Hey, if I'm going to destroy the video while trying to make the sample and teach and film all at the same time, I might as well use it to my advantage, right? So at any rate, thank you, wool mat fairy. And now let's go ahead and get these other units on here. Friends, please forgive me and go ahead and sew on the outside edges here. We're going to go ahead and make sure we're sewing on the rectangles to the squares first. We need to get those in place before we can do our other sides. 4 1/2 by 8 1/2 are these white or your background fabric pieces. And like with our other units, we can sew on one side and then we can sew on the other as we're building before we go back over to our wool mat fairy. Or just wool mat, I guess. Maybe your fairy didn't steal yours and put yours back. And hide your pieces while you're trying to film. Now with this one, folks, again, I'm going to press into the blue, and it's actually going to help us nest our seams. And if you're not sure what nesting our seams means, I did make a maybe better video than this one recently and posted it. I've got a whole playlist for us now that is called the Learning to Quilt with Rob playlist. I know there's a lot of new quilters out there. That's why I love having these kits available from Stitchin Heaven, because it's really a great way to get a good start, your low waist, blah, 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 blah. But with our nesting our seams, one of the things I've done done now is I've set it up so these seams are going in opposite directions. So it's going to make me very easy to sew this new unit on here and make sure that the points stay as crisp as possible. I'm a carefree quilter. It's not 100% essential for me. My friend Tiffany, who has a passion for precision, also has t-shirts now available. And yeah, she definitely would be rolling her eyes watching me to making today's video. But usually for me, it's more about the fun than the accuracy. But I do like a fairly good looking project, don't get me wrong. Okay, and these points aren't too shabby. I might show these ones off if you stick around. And I have to still invite you to win this quilt kit. Okay, so there's our first side on, wonderful. Putting on our second side, just make sure you have your orientation correct. I think this is like a churn dash block maybe, if it's just this unit here. And then I'm just, again, kind of aligning up these seams down here, not using any real straight pins. I'm pretty much into just letting it flow. Those will go through nice like that. And you have your center block units completed here. And again, we'll make 12 of these. They should finish at 16 and a half, I believe, by 16 and a half. So that they'll be 16-inch squares when they go in there. I'm afraid to measure, by the way, the rest of this video has been going so far in the new shirt with the new hairdo. So let's just move into those outside rows. So we're going to make now these wonderful sections here that have the checkerboard, and it's really a fun strip piecing trick. Strip piecing is going to take like size units. So these happen to be 1.5-inch strips. I've built one already for us that looks like this. And I think you can guess where we're going to go to get the checkerboard. I now need to make sure that I have a blue one in the center with 2 white ones. So we're going to make opposite groupings. The pattern tells you exactly how many strips to cut. Everything is cut at 1.5 inches. And I do like to sew everything from one side. So I'm actually starting by looking at my second strip in my setup. So the blue strip is going down now. And one of my tricks to strip piecing is letting the machine doing the work, using this edge guide, medium to slow pace. A lot of us try to race through this kind of sewing, and that's not necessary. So we're just going to go ahead and stitch this on through. Real simple, real easy and nice like this. And because these units are close together and it's strip piecing, I will press after each row of sewing to keep these strip units as accurate as possible. So come on over to your board here, but each time you set up, try to press into your darker fabrics. Again, just holding that into the air. It'll allow our little units to nest together nicely. And again, it really helps when you're doing a dark fabric against a light fabric to keep the seams from bleeding through that light fabric. So I'm just going to take a moment here and press this first strip out, and then I'm going to sew on the other strip real quick when you're not watching so that we can get into the checkerboard. Maybe I can still salvage this video. Salvage? Salvage is, what is it? When we're talking about a fabric video, see what I'm saying today? Okay, and you can now see I actually have all 3 strips together. So pointing out once again, we have opposite pattern strips, right? And so now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to cut a couple of subsections. Now, before you just start ripping through and cutting all of these down, because this section here with the darker outsides are going to fit along our pieces like this, the pattern calls for a 16.5-inch chunk. So what you probably want to do is square this off and then take a 16.5-inch chunk, as many of those once you're cutting all of your pieces. But for me, I'm going to make it so you can see what we're doing here on one side. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim off this starting point. And in order to do that, I like to get my ruler really nice along those center lines. That's going to help confirm everything is as straight as possible. I'm going to trim that back, and then I'm going to take the time to actually rotate the entire strip so that I can use a 1.5 inch marker on this. And for every length, basically you need 2 with your darker outsides. Okay, and then a 16.5. Let me confirm, it is definitely 16.5. And I can probably get that this way. And in this situation, I'm looking at my 16.5 inch number across here. I'm looking at my sashing all the way through here, and then there's one of those. Okay, and then when you cut over to this opposite side, let's just go ahead and trim off this first end like we were doing a moment ago by laying that nice square. We're going to trim, rotate. That click you hear is me closing my blade for any of you safety fans out there. It looks like I'm throwing this thing around pretty fast, and I've gotten very used to using this wonderful Alex Anderson Quilter Select Rotary Cutter. I love the weight of it, and I like the safety a lot on it. I just want to make sure you all know I am still being a good safe, even though carefree quilter, as I'm cutting these 1.5 inch units down pretty quick. And I'm only going to need those for this portion of today's demo, and I don't want to take the fun away from the lucky winner. And in order to win this kit, I'm going to keep you on the hook just a little bit longer. I love that. Just to make sure that you're paying attention. I think you know where we're heading here in a few moments. Let's put those on our savings account for later. Now we're going to go ahead and marry these up like this. I believe I mentioned earlier the importance of that dark light combination in our pressing. So now in these little bitty units, that's going to help a lot. Slow it down a minute and just fold those over. Make sure that both sides of the seams kind of nest nice before you get over to the sewing machine, because you don't have a lot of wiggle room in here. Take a nice, easy 1/4 inch seam, and you're building these with the blue part in the middle. I'm going to take a moment to come on over and just press. This is why I like that wool mat so much. I can just let it sit there for me. And then I want to make sure that I'm using another light edged piece on this outside here. Match that up. Flip it around, and that's the secret to the checkerboard. And folks, the coolest thing about this is any size strips, as long as they're the same, will work for this. These will basically give us 1 inch checkers when we're done because of the seam allowance on all those sides. You can see me taking the care on my seam allowances here. My friend Tiffany, the precision quilter, would be proud of me today. Oh, look at that. Wow, that's terrific. Okay, we're going to press this out. And then what happens is this unit will be stitched right back in on the end of the 16.5. So then that goes in here just like this. And there it is, folks. As I head on over to the ironing board, you can probably see that I snuck the other checkerboard in on the sashing when you weren't looking. And I just want to point out, because I can't go any further, because one of you is going to win this kit. And I can't go any further because the winner gets to do the layout and the design on which blues go where in their pattern. So I just want to give you the last of the information kind of virtually here if I can. Of course, this needs to be trimmed up a little bit to a 16.5. You will have 2 sashings like this for every grouping, but of course you'll need to sew in your standard sashing without the cornerstones, also at 16.5. So those will lay in like this here. These will come in here and lay in like this, and you can see how that's going to corner out and make that sashing and the checkerboards, and they go all the way to the edges. If you remember at the beginning of the video, the outer border fabrics and the binding fabrics are still in your kit over here. So if you would like to be the lucky winner, all you have to do to receive this kit is comment the word win, W-I-N, like you're going to be the lucky winner of this kit in the comments. I'm going to give you about a month to participate. The end date, like the link for all of these products, is in the description below. Like I asked before, please make sure you're subscribed, and do forgive me today for this wild and crazy video that was supposed to be so simple to follow along with. I think I made every mistake possible. But really, you probably saw me work through them too. It was just the fact that I got going so quickly that I misinterpreted the instructions, and fortunately for me, I cut a little bit big instead of a little bit small on those rectangles. So just remember, early on in the video I made that mistake and I said they were 4 7/8, but they're really 4 1/2. Other than that, you're dialed in. Of course, we have patterns, downloadables, we have the kits and everything available for you at Stitchin Heaven. This is a wonderfully simple and super fun, carefree style quilt that you can make as a beginner, intermediate, or expert. And I just want to say thank you for following along today. I'll see you next time, folks, and please stay well. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really helps support our channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit the little button to be notified every time we go live or do a new video for all of you. And here's one from the past I think you'll really enjoy.